Good afternoon. I'm Regina Loukotová. Nice to meet you. We continue in our architecture podcast called ARCHIPCAST, and today I'm going to interview my colleague Ondřej Janků. Hi, Ondřej.
Hello.
He's a colleague of Shota Tsikoliya, whom I interviewed last time. And today, again, we are going to talk about architecture, about teaching, about architecture as a profession, and other topics. So now I'll start with my question about your collaboration with Shota, how you two came together, how it happened that there was an office, how long you are collaborating, and that would be for the beginning all.
Okay. Obviously we know each other from the school times. We studied the same school, although we were in a little bit different semesters, but we were occasionally meeting there. As we had some lectures and mainly friends in common. That didn't really initiate any further professional collaboration whatsoever, since short after finishing the diploma I left the country to work several years abroad and to do some postgraduate studies eventually.
May I interrupt you in this moment?
Of course.
I think that's an important message. Right after you graduated, you decided to leave the country. So I would ask you, what did it bring to you, to your professional career, as well as where did you go to?
Right. That may be derived from some discussion we had with my colleagues in our studio at school, that from the third semester we were convinced that we have to go abroad somehow, either to study or ideally to work, to get new experience, to get better starting money, to see new things and to connect work and travels as this was like ultimate goal. So to apply for a job abroad was the given thing, and obviously when you finish the school you don't have the richest portfolio ever, no working experience, and so on and so forth. So we sent it out to a series of offices that we thought are an interesting ones to approach, to go to work for. And in my case, I eventually got in touch or got replied from Swiss-based office Herzog & de Meuron, which was fantastic. So without too much hesitation, I signed the contract and
I would do the same.
and went to Switzerland. Funny thing was that we weren't really directing to this or that country. We were really directing to the particular offices. So only after Herzog & de Meuron offered the work contract, only that I was looking on the map where the heck Basel is, where they had their headquarters.
And in which year it was? When did you graduate?
Wow, 2009. I'm not really sure.
Doesn't matter, but it's like 2008, 2009,
quite long time
15
ago.
Years ago.
2009, something like that.
Okay. It's just relevant because why we do these podcasts is to show students what is your professional kind of career, how you actually went through your life being an architect, and also for the parents of our students, that they know what is possible, how architects think and what they do before graduation, right after graduation, why they choose to study architecture and so on. So I think your experience, like sending your CVs around and actually you got a chance to work in one of the best offices, architecture offices in the world, that's amazing.
Well, for that I can only suggest the students to shoot really high. They shouldn't really debate this. They shouldn't think what they can possibly offer. They should try it out. Most of the things on the field of architecture that I use in my professional practice I learned in or during the professional practice anyways. So I would really suggest them to skip this hesitation that they don't have enough experience and so on and so forth. Once they got once they end up in some insignificant office with mediocre production just because they didn't have balls to try better, it's very possible that they will end up there and they will somehow skip this opportunity. I'm saying that also because in this, at least from my experience, in these large and world-known offices, the average age of the employee is 30 years. 30 years old is the average age, and that's because the main driving power there is really there for a relatively short time, and people circulate very much. It's time-demanding job that takes a lot of energy, and it's almost impossible to do it. At least I'm speaking from myself now. It's almost impossible to do it alongside with having relationship and family and kids, right? So that time after school is the really right time to try this out. And it's also that sort of age group that these big offices are waiting for because they have the best motivation to do that.
True. And then, I mean, you are getting actually into a very interesting group of collaborators. No, that
That's
there are
right.
people from all over the world. You work on interesting projects. I suppose that many of these world-known offices, they do competitions, probably also invited or mostly invited competitions. So you can really get into very interesting projects. That's true. But I remember that was not your only experience abroad. Didn't you also work somewhere else?
Yeah, yes.
The answer is yes.
No, that was during the studies. I was on 2 exchange programs. One was the study exchange. That was the university in Plymouth, in England. And the second was this Erasmus exchange with or Erasmus program where I ended up in Copenhagen working for Bjarke Ingels Group for some time, and that was just before I was about to finish the diploma work.
Interesting. So probably it's important to add that you studied in Prague, that you studied at the Academy of Applied Arts,
yes.
And that's where you met Shota.
Right.
And now we can actually start with your actually beginnings. How did you start your office? How it happened that suddenly 2 young people decide to, let's...
Beginnings of Kolar, you mean? It's fun that you say that, because I think in comparison to, if I compare it with our, let's say, colleagues, former classmates and people that also established the practice here in Prague, we weren't that young anymore. We started old.
Old, you mean like 30?
Yes, it related to the age of the or like average age of comparable companies, comparable size, and that's precisely because there was this rather long break when Shota was more focused on the academic research and I was more focusing on the professional practice, but elsewhere than in the Czech Republic, and. As it comes, as is the nature of these big offices, people circulate. So, I came about the decision to leave and start my own business. And it was more the coincidence that I came back to the Czech Republic and that I met Shota and also other colleagues. And they had similar idea about their current situation, so we have decided to start our own business.
This I somehow remember vaguely, that there were more people around starting the office, but nowadays it's just you two. running the office, or is there
No,
more
it's
co-founders around?
It's three of us, three partners.
Mm-hmm.
It's me, Shota, and Veronica, who studied at Technical University originally, but also she worked for several years for different companies before deciding to change the place. And as I said again, it was just a happy coincidence that we met.
That you started and met. Nice. And can you mention some projects you worked on, some realization, what we can visit, what we can see?
I mean, so far the range of the projects we do is on one hand for the private clients, and those projects are beautiful but almost impossible to visit, right? And the other series of the projects that are public, very often connected with gastro services, if that is the word in English. And from that, I could certainly recommend our cafe container at Prague 7, or maybe...
Probably I would add to that it's at Ortenovo Square.
Ortenovo Square,
and yesterday I noticed there is an article in the Czech Google called seznam.cz about it. So it's becoming quite known, even though, as we discussed before, we started today that it was 3 years old already, but it's a nice example of like a small architecture intervention.
I mean, obviously, as it is in the middle of the square, and its architecture is, I would say, a little bit daring, maybe a little bit too industrial for some people, and there is somehow there's nice. The storytelling of this project is relatively easy, and it's kind of interesting for the media to delegate. So it in a ways helps us or helps this project to be visible even after 3 years of its existence and being widely published even after this time, which I am happy for.
Yeah.
But any experienced architect recognizes very easily that it's free shipping containers, so it's not a complicated building to put together. But and I suggest everybody to visit, and then we can speak about some feedback.
When I visited, I was amazed because I think it's a super complicated thing when I see about detailing and everything, what all you have to consider on such a limited amount of square meters. So it's definitely worth visiting. And it was a result of architecture competition, wasn't it? It was an open architecture competition.
It was an open competition, but it was an architectural competition. Architects were only part of the team that were supposed to deliver some or like visual quality. But it was the how do you say that in English? Like a business competition or like a competition for renting the plot, basically. Yeah. So we weren't the primer subject entering the competition. We were invited by the actual owner who was interested in renting the area from the city.
Yeah, indeed, and it was initiated mostly or only by Prague 7.
It was initiated by Prague 7, which is
Super.
fantastic.
Good. So I think we can step or go further from your buildings, but definitely you are still young company, young studio. So the
old
bigger
members, young company.
The bigger projects will come, and so from practice to teaching. How do you combine these things, and what is your actually, what do you like most on teaching, let's say, or of this combination of teaching and practice?
It is quite an interesting question that is not so easy to answer with one sentence. But I've more projects in our professional practice we do, more I have a feeling that teaching and practicing architecture doesn't necessarily or is not necessarily transferable directly, and doesn't necessarily have to be. As in the professional practice, there are very different drivers of the project, and very, very often they set up such a boundaries that, you know, I'm happy to overcome whenever I can, and the academic ground is exactly that ground where I can speak architecture freely without the boundaries given by the business, such as the client, the money, the environment, and so on and so forth, the time frame, and I'm happy for that. So I would say that it is more complementary than like shared, like transferable experience.
No, that's understandable. I think that also you are aware of our projects when we collaborate with external partners of the university,
right.
That we collaborate with municipalities or some private businesses, developers, others. So actually what they want from, let's say, academic environment is like some inspiration, some spices, to do something a bit different that they are used to in their everyday life. So
precisely.
That's what I think is also benefit, and it's like win-win situation. I mean, the students are meeting real clients, real requirements, but real in certain until certain border, I would say. That's what you just mentioned, that behind that border there are many other obstacles which we are facing as professional architects. Great. Another question of mine would be, I'm jumping now to your teenage time. How comes that you decided to study architecture?
Well, that is already a really long time ago. From what I remember,
when you were 3 or 4.
From what I always wanted to be. I mean, quite the opposite actually. I remember I wasn't really certain what I do want to study at all, and somehow I thought that since both of my parents are architects, I will have it somewhat easier to follow the same path, right? But I mean, very, very soon I have discovered that almost the opposite is the truth, as whenever there was some architectural discussion without the family, I was more in disagreement with them. No, but eventually maybe this art of argumentation was the most valuable thing from studying architecture. Anyways, I remember I was probably much more interested in linguistics and natural science also, but since then being too comfortable, I just decided to go for the same thing my parents did. So,
but have you ever regretted it?
At the beginning, maybe a little bit, but then look, I mean, architecture is a form of a language, right? We speak architecture. It's like non-verbal, but
physical.
But physical. But it's some sort of experience. So when it comes to linguistics, I think I still see or think architecture as if it was some kind of language. That is funnily much more universal and worldwide spoken than the verbal languages. So this is interesting because when it comes to teaching architecture on an international school, where only the minimum amount of students are native speakers, sometimes it's easier to speak architecture than English. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
so I really suggest students not to be shy and express themselves, if not verbally, then through the project. And very often it's easier than to only debate about it. So I struggled a little bit during the COVID time, as we only had to discuss it and remotely. and for many students it was much more difficult as well than showing what they think through the established architectural tools.
No, that's interesting what you are saying, and also in my mind is your studio, what you do this semester, that you ask your students to show their projects, their proposal only in physical models. So
right.
It's another part of that language. One, we have a verbal explanation what we want, then we have sketches, indeed, then we have our screens and work on there. But now you decided to work with physical models. So I have to ask you now, even though we jump again from your childhood to
keep jumping. That's fine.
To the current moments. So why did you decide to actually ask students to have only physical models, no sketches, nothing, only models? So work with their hands, with material, and use that part of language.
Well, there are like several drivers of this idea. I mean, first of all, we are sort of leap jumping into an era of artificial intelligence that generates amazing visual ideas instantly as we speak. So this ultimate goal that we had at school to represent our projects through realistic visualization is becoming very obsolete, right? And I think if this direction towards artificial intelligence stays, I think physical models, as they were a little bit overlooked, let's say, these days, will become much more valued again. So I think to brush up the skills of model making could be strategically very, very interesting for students if they realize this fact that the visualizations are not so important anymore in the time when you cannot really recognize what is designed by the computer, what is designed by an architect, what is reality and what is not anymore. Or is it not reality? Maybe it's like second reality already. It's virtual reality. So models, and also from me and Shota's experience, the essential thing is to put the students out from their comfort zone in order to get something from them. They don't like that at the beginning, but the ultimate feedback from them is usually positive. So, and model making is essentially the tool how to do that.
But one thing is a model making, like when like professional model making, when you really make a fine models, which is not this case. I like, it's like sketchy models where you actually cannot lie. You have to model it. You have to model your the heights, all dimensions, kind of. You can, like in visualizations, you can lie, like this is the image, but it's actually not true. Doesn't correspond with reality, but this is kind of a small reality.
No, I mean, but we told them already several times that even abstract models are welcome. It doesn't necessarily have to delegate it doesn't necessarily have to show the building. It could show an idea,
or atmosphere.
It would show the atmosphere, a light, and anything. And I also think that through model making we will overcome this handicap of not being able to use software, basic architectural software well. As in previous semester, we spent a lot of time teaching the software, and we didn't have time to get that design outcome from it. So maybe if they will have courage, they will be able to express their ideas right away without being limited by the software.
Super. I think that was a nice end of our interview. Thank you, Ondřej, and I think we are going to continue soon. So.